Hey, this is Chad Gleaves with Church Media Blueprint, and I've got Jay Kranda with me today, and he is the online pastor, the online campus pastor for Saddleback Church. And the cool thing I like about his ministry there is that he had spent some time on staff, and they brought him on as the online pastor, and he took over the campus ministry, and it went from 300 people, if I understand correctly, to 20,000 people. And was that over the course of a year, or that was a short amount of time from what I was reading?
Yeah, it's been really an amazing experience. I want to thank you for having me on this and being part of what you're doing. And I mean, the short story is that we had a stream about 6-7 years ago that was 300 people, and we started to experiment. And I actually started as a volunteer. I was on the communications team at Saddleback over really volunteer teams, and one of the websites that sat under the communications kind of role or domain was this. They called it the Internet Campus, and which I hate that word, internet. It's like using web crawler or Netscape. I feel like it's just an outdated word. And through the course of just kind of like asking around and getting to know everybody on the team, I started to volunteer just some time and building some volunteer teams as well around it, and it just grew, and we went from 5 live services to really 15, 20, and then one every hour, and now we're up to 6 live, and we do an on demand, and now we have a Spanish. And so it's grown from 300 to 20,000. We've had as much of and we actually track 2 things here, and we've talked a little bit about this before we even recorded, was data is so important. And we track a 30-minute number where we actually ping them every 5 minutes. And after so many pings, 6 pings, we count as one, and then we track unique visitors. And so obviously our 30-minute number every week can range from, on average, about 13 to 15,000 people watching 30 minutes every week on one of our sites. And then we'll have, anywhere from 20 to 30,000 unique visitors. And so it's just been a blessing. It's been a crazy ride. And I know a couple of the learnings in that we're still growing will come out during this talk.
No, nice. Yeah, to be able to help take a ministry for such a great experience. The Claudel, who I just interviewed this last issue, was along those lines. He was able to help take a church from 18 people to 3,000 people in just a few years. And that's just an incredible experience to be able to do that. Now, you've talked a little bit about your ministry, but tell me about yourself. Tell me about how you got started with Saddleback, and how you got into the media ministry there, the online ministry.
Yeah, so I grew up in a family that really started with great ambitions. My parents met at a church, got married very young, and I think in the midst of everything that was going on in their world, that they were trying to stay committed to each other. And then they had 3 boys, one after another. There's only a year separated from me and my 2 brothers, and 3 boys, and life kind of caught up with them, and different things that they didn't really handle before they got married, let alone before they met Christ, and led to a divorce and some messy stuff. And I kind of grew up for a period of my life with just a single mom, and my dad wasn't really active. And through all that, my mom went through some different struggles of her own, and really, me and my brothers were kind of on our own. And through that process, I got invited to a church, and really, my church became like a sanctuary to me. Really everything that you want the church to be, a sanctuary, a place for the sick to be healed, and so forth. I experienced that when I was going into high school, and I accepted Christ. This is gonna make me young. And I am young, but in 2000, I think I was an 8th grader, and it was June 3rd, 2000, and I just loved the church. I had a mentor there that really became like a father to me, and in that process, I committed really early on. I just wanted to be part of church. I really wasn't sure what that was going to look like, but I knew I wanted to help people find God and experience the love of Christ the way that the peace of Christ had really sat in my heart. My family life did not get better. It kind of got worse. But I had, my identity no longer was in my mom or my dad or my family dynamic. It was my identity was in Christ. And so I just started serving. I thought I was going to be a youth pastor because that's the kind of the ministry I grew up in. I went to a local university here in Southern California, Biola University. Actually got a Christian education degree. And kind of you specialize, but it's only 2 classes. I don't think anything can be a specialization if it's 2 classes in youth ministry. And then I continued on with, I just finished up my master's in theology from Talbot, their graduate seminary program. And through that, I started serving. I've always been somebody that just serves where there's an opportunity, and I wanted to change people with the love of Christ. And I got thrown into a communications team and kind of got exposed really early to branding and marketing, and like we called it like the street to seat kind of idea. How does somebody come to know Christ street to seat? And I did a weekend experience role at our main campus at Lake Forest. I did all sorts of things as part of like a lot of media-based ministries. We had a video-based ministry that I was over, a photo ministry that I was over, a graphics, a web design. And that kind of got me kind of like knees deep, a guy who kind of only was a Bible guy, that I could cite off the Bible and tell you why the Dead Sea Scrolls are important. But like I didn't know anything about websites, let alone WordPress or anything like that. And I just got thrown into it. And in that process, the online campus came to me, and I just saw the potential right away when someone said, well, we're streaming this service. And I was like, you mean somebody can like just experience a church service 24/7 potentially? And it doesn't matter now, times and driving, there's no issue. Somebody can come to know Christ anytime. And right when I saw the site, and we didn't have a beautiful site at the time. This was 6 or 7 years ago. I just saw the potential. I was like, what if we could do this and that? And God just kind of lit something in my soul on that. And ever since, I've been grateful to be able to do it. Nice.
Now, so how long have you been in the current position that you're in? How long has that been?
It's been, I've been a full-time online campus pastor for almost 3 years. That's been my full title. And part-time, because the role was part of the communications team before, I've been part-time with it for about 5-6 years. And so it's been kind of, and part of it, just to be honest with, people, watching this or listening to it, Saddleback was determining the value of an online campus pastor. We spend money, not to take a term that's overused, but we spend money on purpose. And we wanted to make sure that we could utilize the online campus for a Saddleback vision. We don't want to gather a crowd unless we can rally them towards something. And once Rick and leadership figured out, oh, hey, we can use the online campus this way, then it was like, okay, we need staff. We need to figure that out. We need to pour into that. Rick, talking about our pastor, Pastor Rick Warren, he says in his Purpose-Driven Church book, he didn't want a radio broadcast at first. He didn't want to be on TV because he wanted to build the local churches, and he couldn't figure out, or at the time there wasn't a value. And with the online, we had some of those barriers, and we started to figure out how can we leverage this for our goals. And when we were ready for that, then the trigger got pulled.
Okay, so Rick Warren sounds like a very calculating, stats-oriented guy. I mean, he looks like detail-oriented. Well,